Hello, thank you for listening to the Patricia Show. This is Patricia. Please press subscribe, share, and like. So I want to talk about why do we struggle in different areas in our life. We struggle with money. We struggle with finding love. We struggle with different things in our life. And I'm gonna do several areas and show you why you're struggling. If we really understood the principles of life, we wouldn't struggle for anything. I'm telling you, life would be so simple if we didn't struggle. If you knew the principles and you knew how to do things, you would never struggle. But because we don't know, that's why we struggle. Now, whose responsibility is that to teach that in our society? Well, I would think it would be the church, because the church has taken on that responsibility to teach about God. And so they should teach about God's universal laws and God's principles and how God has set up life. But they don't. Now, they probably don't, because a lot of them probably don't know their self, because they don't even know what God really is. I don't even know what they're just teaching, something they made up, something that they made up and just passed it down. This is what the people gonna teach. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have to seek truth for yourself. You have to seek truth for yourself. But anyway, it should really. If I had a society that I was starting, I would definitely put the church over that task to teach people about God and about the different universal laws. Because if you don't work in accordance to God's laws, you're working against God's laws. And when you work against God's laws, you're going to always struggle, because you're working against God's laws, even though you don't know. You might not know that you're working against God's laws, but you are. If you're struggling for anything, know that you're struggling against God's laws. Because when you follow God's laws about things and God's principles, everything is gonna work out harmonious. There's no struggling involved. Know that. Just know that for anything. It's like you would work and you have a new task. If you're doing the task incorrectly, you're gonna always struggle trying to get it right. But if you know how to do the task is gonna go smoothly. Okay. So let's take this tape. I'm gonna talk about relationships. All right. Why is it that women and men, you struggle to find a good relationship? Why is that? Because you don't understand that your relationships acts as a mirror towards what you need to work on in yourself. So if you meet a woman or a man and you complaining all the time about them, telling your friends, oh, he do this, she do this, oh my God, I'm so frustrated, I don't even want them around. That person that you have as your mate is showing you a mirror of what you need to work on for you. So the biggest thing that annoys you with your mate, that you have that quality in you. When you work on the things that is annoying you in your relationship with your mate, it will automatically change your mate, and you will have a harmonious relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the person that you're meant to be with. You'll have a harmonious relationship, and when it's time for the relationship to end, it will end. Why is that? Because there's karmas involved. That's why it's so much friction in the relationship in the first place, because it's a karmatic relationship. You have karmas that need to be resolved with that person, and when those karmas are resolved, relationship goes smoothly. Now, where do the karmas come from? Whether you believe it or not doesn't mean it's not true. A lot of people do not believe in reincarnation, but a lot of people do. They come from all of your past lives. Listen, you are here in life now to return to the Godhead. You cannot return to the God's head in one lifetime, because you have made many, many, many mistakes. You've built many, 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 many karmas. And so you have to balance those karmas out. When you have balanced 51% of your karmas, then you no longer need to come back on earth, and then you can complete whatever journey or whatever it is you need to do, not on earth, but in other dimensions. And eventually it'll lead you back to the Father, the mighty I am, okay? But until you resolve those 51% of your karmas, you have to continue to reincarnate to earth. Those karmas, so the karmas that you create, that simply means that your energy is unbalanced. It's not balanced, and you need to balance the energy out. And again, you have to balance 51% of the energy in order to get off the wheel of reincarnation. So when you come to the earth, so you have different karmas you have to complete, okay? I don't know where you're at spiritually, because yes, on a spiritual level, because I look at spirituality like a ladder, and everybody's on different parts of that ladder, so I don't know where you are on that ladder. But let's say you're someone who's almost finished with your karmas when it comes to relationships, okay? So then you might get in a relationship, you'll see the person, he or she will act as a mirror. You'll take care or heal whatever in you that you're seeing in the other person, and then that relationship will be harmonious. Then you'll probably maybe that relationship will end up being the one, or that relationship you'll just part and then you'll meet the one. But usually you have to go through several relationships before the one comes. So basically you're going through all these frogs. They're showing you about you. They're showing you what you need to work on for you. The quicker you work on the things that you're being shown, which means the things that you're complaining about in them that's in you, the quicker your prince or princess will be there. Okay, so don't think it's gonna come like you say, oh, she told me if I work on myself, I'm gonna meet the next man or woman I meet gonna be the one. No, I don't know where you're at on your spiritual ladder on the growth. So it could be the next one, and it could be 3 or 4 of them down. You know what I mean? But however, when you leave the relationships, if it's not the one, you'll leave it in a harmonious state. Because you're already, looking at this relationship and changing yourself. Now, let's say you get a relationship, you do what you're supposed to do, and then all of a sudden it's other things that irritate you about the person you're mate. Well, that simply means that it's going deeper and it's bringing up other issues that you have to work on. And so don't sit up and complain, oh, my goodness, he did this, he did that. Because I'm going to tell you something. Even in an argument, it's never about the other person. It's always about you. So if you go out here right now, step out your house and get in an argument with somebody, don't say that lady was crazy. She did such and such and such. It's never about the other person. It's always about you. So what you could say is, why did I come out of the house and meet this lady of all people? What is she telling me about me? What is she telling me about me? Because your relationships, your friendships are a mirror for you to work on, to show you what you need to work on yourself. Now, let's say you get a man, because I actually know this lady. She was a school teacher, and so she never drunk at all. But she met this man who was, he had an alcoholic problem. He was drinking a lot, and so she told me that every time, like, she would date him for a while, break up, and then every time she would ask God to send her a man, God would send her that man, and she didn't understand why God kept sending her the man. And I explained to her, because you draw to you what you are. So God gonna give you, wherever level you on, that's the level you gonna get. So apparently that man was working on some self-esteem issues underneath unconsciously, because he was alcoholic, and usually anybody on alcohol or drugs or anything like that is working on self-esteem issues. And so if he's working on self-esteem issues, I can guarantee you working on the same thing. Now, that doesn't mean to say that your self-esteem is maybe as low as he is because he's an alcoholic or drinks a lot. But it doesn't have to be on the same level. You know what I'm saying? But you do have self-esteem issues, and you drew a man to you that has self-esteem issues, which is the same thing. Again, you're mirrors, so you're seeing in him what's really in you. Okay. So that's one thing. So when you draw somebody, when you attract people to you, they're working on the same issues that you're working on. But maybe that doesn't mean those issues are on the same level. You know what I mean? There's different, like when people don't love themselves, there's different levels of don't love themselves. You know what I mean? So maybe I had one girl, I did her exercise to look in the mirror. She couldn't even look at herself in the mirror. Because basically that's saying she really disliked herself a lot. It took her, I think it was 45 days before she could really look at her 2 eyeballs in the mirror and say, I love you. So now maybe you don't love yourself, but you might not be like she is. You know what I'm saying? So when the man or the woman come to you, you're working on the same issues, but that doesn't mean you have to be on the same level. So now, when I give you these requests, it's like a request that you would ask the universe to send you someone. What happens? I can't speak on other people when they give you requests. I can only speak to you about when I give it to you, because I know how mine work. So it's an affirmation, but it's a request that you would say a few times a day. What that does is, like, if you're asking for a man that's loving, kind, and gentle, and you don't have those qualities, you'll begin to develop those qualities. And you'll see those qualities beginning to develop in you. When those qualities begin to develop in you, then that person will come along for you. What you're praying for, that person will come along, but it won't come until you develop these qualities that you're asking for, which is fantastic. I had a lady tell me that she was praying for God to send her a man, and right after he sent her this man, and the man was a drug addict. She thought, he was a very, very bad drug addict. She thought and really believed that God had sent her that man. That she was supposed to run off in paradise with him. But again, if you attract what you are, then that person came to her so that she could look in the mirror at him and see what issues she needs to work on herself. It wasn't sent to her to, hey, be there with him and go through his drama and, live happily ever afterwards. It's not going to be happiness, if you're living with somebody that's that addicted. Have that big a problem. But there was something going on with her, and that's why she attracted him in the first place. So, we need to look at those things, because if you understand that, then you wouldn't have to struggle. See, whatever it was that you were looking for in the mate, you would make sure that you yourself had those qualities before you went and requested somebody to come to you with those qualities. So then there would be no struggle. You see what I'm saying? Why would you struggle? You'll know that person is coming to you. Like if I'm asking for a loving and kind man or woman, and I'm getting the opposite, it's because I'm not that. But see, a lot of you don't know that already, so therefore you keep struggling. You'll say, oh my goodness, I met somebody, but he or she wasn't any good. I didn't want them. And then you'll say again, oh my God, I'm having such a hard time finding somebody. And what you're failing to see is that, yes, you're finding somebody. You're finding somebody who's showing you about you so that you can fix that. And then eventually you will have the type of relationship, the harmonious relationship that you're looking for. But you're not going to have that until you fix these qualities that need to be fixed in you. So now if you don't know that, you're going to steadily be struggling, okay? Okay, thank you so much for tuning in to the Patricia Show, and I'll see you later.